Hey gang, this is Rev with Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. I'm on my way here to my nephew's, my grandson's car. It's got an '08 Dodge Charger, V6 3.5 liter, and crank but no start. And I've already put Rev with Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. Let's give you an update on the '08 Charger with the no starting issue. Had it towed here to the house. And hey gang, this is Rev. We're back with Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Mechanic Edition. Let me give you an update here on the '08 Dodge Charger. Before I started to get into the timing cover, I did take it off. The belt was fine, everything was timed up. I had a friend turn the engine over, and this right here is the intake manifold runner positioning sensor, and this operates off vacuum, and it's supposed to make a clicking sound when it is working, and it opens up. It works pretty much like a mass airflow sensor. It controls the air that goes in to the intake there. So this is bad. It's a P2017 code on here. This is a very expensive part. It's like $200 something from the dealer, but you can get it off Amazon and eBay for like $74, but I wouldn't trust it. Sorry, my battery is dying. But so we're going to have that ordered. But also I noticed the water pump is leaking on this, so we're going to go ahead and get a water pump and a timing belt, and we're going to get this intake manifold running positioning sensor, and then we'll button this all up. Rev here for Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. The update you with the '08 Charger 3.5 liter V6 that was a no start. We have solved the no start problem, and this was the problem. You see it right here. This is what's called a intake manifold running positioning sensor, and it sits right here in front of the intake. Some have two. This one has one right here. This is called a short runner, and this operates like a butterfly flap on the inside that opens and closes and allow air to flow through the air intake system and goes over into the mass airflow sensor. But this controls the amount of air going in there. But when you get a P2017 code, that is the intake manifold running position sensor circuit high. That means the circuit is bad. If you get a P2016, that means intake manifold running position sensor circuit low. So you would have a wire harness problem, a shortage in the wire, and you would have to trace that down. But a high circuit, the circuit is bad. When you take this off, it's just 4 screws, and put a screwdriver in the flap. Make sure it turns nice and loosely, and clean all the carbon up out of there. And so she does crank. We did take the front cover off. The timing was fine, but when I found out we had a bad water pump, so we got the water pump, we got the timing belt with the new tensioner. We're going to go ahead and put that on, but I'm going to start the car to show you that we did get the no start situation solved. You can start a car without the accessory belts on here, because you got everything's in time, the timing belts on. You can even do it without antifreeze. You can run it just to make sure it starts. Don't run it long, you can cut it off. So we'll turn it on to let you know that it's working. So we're in the car. We're going to put the key in. You hear the fuel pump, and you'll hear fire. So she's running. Now I just cut it back off. So now, like I said, we're going to take the rest of this apart. We got to drain the coolant by the drain pulls down there. We're going to pull out the fan shroud, And we're going to take this top hose off. This cover is only held on by these 2 bolts. I got the pulley to pull this crankshaft gear off, or the crankshaft pulley off. And but before I do that, we're going to set the timing marks up. Make sure the timing lines are lined up before we pull that off. And then we're going to put in the new water pump and the timing belt and get everything all timed up. Okay, our timing marks are lined up on the cam. There you are, right there, right here, and right there. And on the left cam, you can see the mark there and the timing there. And down here is what I want to show you. You see that corrosion down there? That's from the water pump. See that? The leaks right there? It's leaking, and it's all corroded down there where the timing marks are. But the cam, the crank, is lined up at top dead center. So we got that lined up. So that's how I know the water pump. Okay, we got the pulley hooked up to take the crankshaft pulley off, and we're going to use our ratchet, and we're going to back it off until we get close to the radiator. Then we'll use our wrench to back it off the rest of the way. So remember, when you're taking off the pulley, crankshaft pulley, it's going to turn. Don't worry about it. Once you get the pulley off, you get your another bolt that fits inside the crank and put that in, and you can line up your timing marks. And you can see the timing marks there, lined up, and you can see TDC is lined up. But you can see the corrosion pretty good now, and where the leaks are coming from the water pump. You can see it just leaking down there. And we barely got any that much coolant down there in the reservoir, in the cat's can down there. So now that we took the tensioner off, you can see how it moves like that. Here's the tensioner right here, and that little piece right there pushes tension on the tensioner pulley. And so once we got that off now and we lined up, we can take the old belt off. And so that's what you do. You get the old belt out of there. As long as everything's lined up, you just pull the belt right on out of there. And you can look at the belt if you want, but we got a new belt with the kit. And so now we're going to inspect the idler pulley right there, see if the bearing's any good there. And you can just spin it, see it spins, so it doesn't sound like sand or anything. So that doesn't have to come off. So now what we're going to do is get the water pump bolts out of there. There's 10 of them. We'll get those out and we'll put the new water pump bolts in. But you can see that was clearly leaking there. You can see all that coming from the water pump. Now you can hear the water pump when I wiggle on the shaft and listen to it. Those bearings about shot. Sound like sand is in there. That water pump is on its way out. Now when I get the new one on, we'll show you the difference. Okay, we counted all 10 water pump bolts and we got them loose. We're going to back them out, and we got a towel to catch the remaining antifreeze so the crap doesn't fall down all over the crank gear. So I got them loose, and all I gotta do is just go around and take them out. And there's a secret to this. As y'all know in my videos I post, when I pull the water pump out, you don't have to worry about the order of the screws, because you'll see there's a lip on top of all the long screws, and where there's no long screws, the short screws go in there. Then there's one that has no lip, the shortest screw goes in that. So you don't have to worry about the order of the pump bolts. Okay, so here we have the old pump. This is the gasket. Now we can show you where the gasket was failing at. If you see here and here, you see that corrosion that was down near the crank. That's from the antifreeze getting past this seal from here to here. And then there's a couple of spots over here where it was coming from. Now if I flip it around, you can see it was leaking right here where the shaft is. You can see those trails coming right there. Now listen to how this thing spins. You hear it sound like sand. I'm trying to figure out a way I can put this where to spin. Hear that? Sounds like sand is in there. And then again, that wiggling. But the water pump's not supposed to sound like that. That bearing in there is going bad. Now we'll come back with the new shaft and we'll spin it and you'll see the difference. But there's the weep hole right there. And another weep hole right there. When the water pump leaks, that's where it's going to come from, that hole there and then that hole there, and it's going to leak in back and come down, make trails come down there. So now we'll get the new pump. Meanwhile, I'll show you why it's no big deal for the water pump bolts. Okay, see all these that has lips? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them have lips. So the long ones are going to go there. Now you got 1, 2, 3, 4 that's even with the water pump face. Then you got one that's slightly indented. Okay, so the shortest bolt going to go there. And then the next shortest 4 are going to go here, and then all the long bolts are going to go right there. So you really can't get that wrong. And the water pump goes in this way. So as it goes in this way, you're going to see the indent right there where that goes, and then all the rest of them, you can't get them wrong. So no big deal. But if you want to, you can take them and put them in there and put them in as you put them out. You know, it's somewhere to hold your bolts, I guess. That's what it is. It's actually a bolt holder for me, but that's the way they go. So there's no way you can mix these up. It's impossible. Now you see the size of that bolt? That's the shortest bolt right there. So that's going to go right there where it's indented at, and the rest of the bolts are going to go right in here. And these are all the same size. So I don't know what the fuss is all about that, but that's how it goes. So now we're going to dry up around here, get that all cleaned up, get the corrosion off the pump, which is right down here, the gear, get all the corrosion off that, and then we'll be ready to put the new pump in. So here's the new water pump. See how the shaft is? Nice and tight. It doesn't spin freely like this thing. That water pump was shot. There's no wiggling, as you can wiggle at. There's nothing to wiggle in it. This shaft is nice and tight. And there's the new seal, thick and fluffy, right there. So it doesn't sound like sand when you turn it, and it doesn't turn too freely. You want just a little bit resistance. So we're going to go ahead and install this water pump now. We got everything dry and cleaned up down there, and then we'll come back and get the timing belt on. Okay, the pump is on. We got them hand tight. We did them in a crisscross pattern to get even pressure on a gasket, and then we went all the way around, just kind of hand tight to make sure they're all seated and tightened. So now we're going to get our torque wrench, and these are 105 foot-pounds in that same pattern. Okay, the pump is on and I can spin it freely. No wiggle, you don't hear no click click, no sand sound. So we're good to go. So now we're going to put the timing belt on, and I'll explain to you how I do that after I get it on. Now I've done this before, and these are the little pins right here that comes with the new tensioner. Okay, and that little hole right there has to line up with that hole right there. And so what you have to do, this is filled with fluid. It's almost like brake fluid. It's almost non-compressible, but you got to press it in and you got to turn it. It'll allow you to turn it, and when it gets stiff like that, you stop and let the fluid pack itself in. And meanwhile, you watch down here to make sure no fluid leaks out. If fluids get past here, then this tensioner is no good. But we got to get that lined up so we can stick the pin inside there so we can be able to put it back in the pulley. So this takes about 10 minutes or so. You got to be very patient with this, and let the fluid catch up, and then you can feel it. It let me turn it, then it gets real tight, and you don't want to force it. And then you let the fluid, does what it does, and then it'll allow you to turn it again. Be patient with that. You do not want that to leak, because if you don't have another one of these, you have to go and buy them. So this is what's holding us up. Okay, as you can see, there's no oil. It didn't drip. And you see I got the pin in through here, but I don't have it coming out the other side. You don't want to do that because you won't be able to fit this up in there. So you want that to be right there so you can pull on that pin when you get it out. But it took a little bit of time, but that's what you have to do to make sure you don't ruin this. Now we're going to go ahead and put in the new tension pulley, and then we'll put the tensioner in after we get the belt and stuff on. So we wanted to get that knocked out of the way. So we're going to put this new one in. All this is, you just pull this out, and this slides off. You ain't going to lose the bolt. And make sure you slide it in this way. This is on that angle when it slides in. Okay, the torque on a tensioner pulley bolt, 40 foot-pounds. Make sure it spins nice and easy, and we're good. Like I said, torque on these water pump parts, 105 foot-pounds. All the bolts around the timing cover, that's 10 millimeter, all 105 foot-pounds. The two 13 millimeter bolts right here, 40 foot-pounds. Again, this one here, that bolt's going to be 40 foot-pounds also. This is going to be 75, 80 foot-pounds on the crank. Now we put our belt on. We always want to make sure that we're at top dead center. You can see it there. Cam marks are lined up there and there. The right cam lined up there and there. We always start with the bottom belt, and then we start with the left hand cam, and then we'll go over to the right hand cam, and we want to get this put in here and have it tight as possible. And I got 3/8 extension holding the belt down so it doesn't spin while I put it on. Okay, to get proper tension on the belt, you want to take a wrench, 18 millimeter, and turn this one tooth back, and making sure that that timing mark doesn't move down there. And then you slide your belt on, and then you turn it back to that timing mark, and then put a wedge in there so that doesn't move. So we got that timing mark on. We route it underneath the pump, and then we do the same thing for this side to get this lined up. So we got the tensioner tight, and we're still satisfied with the alignment there of our cam on the camshaft timing cover. That one is on the money. and we're at TDC right there on the crank, and the belt centered. So now I'm going to take and wiggle this out. It's hard to come out. What I normally do is put wire cutters here and take with the pliers and pull, and just clamp down on here, not to cut it, because this is hard to come out. Once it come out, it's gonna push up against this pulley and put the tension, the correct tension on that. So now we pulled the grenade on it, and if we look, we're at top dead center right there. We're still on the mark with our cams right there. That's the left cam, the right cam, and it's just about right where we wanted it at. So now we can go ahead and we can button this up. We got the water pump on, we got the tensioner on. So now what we can do is go ahead and put how does it go? We can put the top cover on and then put the bottom cover on later, because the bottom cover, how does that go? Yeah, the bottom cover is going to cover the top of the front plate, so we can put the top cover on first and then put the bottom cover on. And just to mention, the vehicle is already timed with the crank and the cams, so I just take this bolt here and I back it out real quick. It doesn't matter if the timing marks move, because it's already timed. The tensioner is already on the belt. We got good tension on everything. It's nice and solid, so we're happy with that. So we don't have to worry about, I can turn the crank if I want. It's already timed. It doesn't matter. But we're going to get the covers on, and then we'll get this thing all fired up later. Okay, got the power steering pulley back on. Got the crank pulley back on. Idler pulley, 40 foot-pounds, 35 foot-pounds. The crank bolt, 75 to 80 foot-pounds. All these 10mm bolts, 105 inch-pounds. And the bolt that went in the back of the tensioner pulley was also 40 foot-pounds. So we got our serpentine belt on. So now we got to put our coolant fan back in. Then we're going to hook up our coolant hose, put fluid in here, and we're going to start her up. Okay, we topped it off with coolant. We're getting ready to crank her up. And as always, if we done our job right, she'll crank right up. And she's running. So we're gonna let the coolant bleed, and she'll be all done. All right, the 08 Dodge Charger is running smooth, filled with coolant, and it's been running for a while. Coolant temp normal. She idles good. And she sounds good. So that's it. Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions, Mechanic Edition.